file was closed in 2019. The case was officially dead. 7 years of development, 3 directors attached and departed, Stephen Knight's script, J.A. Bayona's chair, and finally David Fincher, the man who made Seven and Fight Club and Zodiac and The Social Network, signed on and ready. And then, on February 6, 2019, Paramount Pictures announced that World War Z 2 was officially shelved. The case closed, the file buried, the sequel that never was. But here is the thing about cases that close without a resolution. They do not stay closed. On April 16, 2026, at CinemaCon, the same stage where Paramount announced Top Gun 3 and new Star Trek and G.I. Joe and Transformers, Paramount executive Josh Greenstein named World War Z alongside those franchises as a development priority. The file is open again. The investigation has resumed, and the question that closed it in 2019, why did Paramount kill a sequel to the highest-grossing zombie film in cinema history, now demands a complete answer before the new version can be properly understood. So let us investigate. The evidence assembled. World War Z, 2013, directed by Mark Forster, starring Brad Pitt as Gerry Lane, a former United Nations investigator pulled back into service as a zombie pandemic rewrites the map of human civilization. The film earned $540 million worldwide against a $190 million budget. It remains to this day the highest-grossing zombie film in cinema history. It received generally positive reviews for Pitt's performance and its large-scale set pieces, particularly the extraordinary Jerusalem sequence where an undead human wave builds itself into a living, breathing climbing structure. The film was always intended to be a trilogy, and then, slowly, it wasn't. Three directors entered the sequel's development between 2013 and 2019. Only one made it to the final stage. J.A. Bayona was attached and departed. The chair became a revolving door. And then the most interesting attachment in the entire investigation arrived. David Fincher, the filmmaker who had already collaborated with Brad Pitt 4 times, S7, Fight Club, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, agreed to direct World War Z 2. Their creative relationship was one of cinema's most productive of the previous 2 decades. Pitt himself described Fincher's script as, and this is the exact quote, "really good," and then Paramount shelved it. Two competing accounts of why Fincher's version died. Account 1. Fincher wanted to make the sequel for less than the original's $190 million budget, a cost reduction Paramount declined to accept. Account 2. Fincher refused to compromise the budget downward despite studio pressure. Both accounts agree on one element: money killed it. But the Hollywood Reporter added a third factor that neither account fully explains. China. Paramount could not secure a Chinese release for any film involving The Walking Dead. China enforces a strict blanket ban on supernatural content, including zombies, and World War Z's commercial case, without the Chinese market, collapsed in Paramount's calculations. The case closed. Three specific factors have brought World War Z 2 back from the dead in 2026. Factor 1. Regime change. New Paramount chairman and CEO David Ellison arrived with a specific mandate to revive the studio's underperforming franchise slate. World War Z was one of the first names on his priority list. Factor 2. Brad Pitt's commercial rehabilitation. His F1 film in 2025 overtook World War Z as the highest-grossing film of his career, proving his box office power remains intact and bankable. A Brad Pitt action franchise makes different commercial sense in 2026 than it did in the post-2019 landscape. Factor 3. The zombie genre's cultural renaissance. 28 years later, in 2025, proved that the zombie film was not culturally exhausted. The World War Z video game has attracted 30 million players. The appetite exists. The commercial case has been rebuilt. David Fincher, speaking to GQ in 2023, described his cancelled World War Z sequel's direction with 3 words that have haunted the franchise ever since. It was a little like The Last of Us. He then added something that sounds like relief, but contains something darker. I'm glad that we didn't do what we were doing, because The Last of Us has a lot more real estate to explore the same stuff. Read that carefully. Fincher is not saying his script was bad. He is saying that the story he had planned, the specific emotionally devastating human survival narrative buried inside a zombie apocalypse, was then executed at television scale by HBO with 9 hours of runtime rather than 2. And his conclusion is that the television format served the story better than his film would have. The script was not the problem. The format may have been. Brad Pitt is expected to be involved in some capacity, whether as Gerry Lane on screen or as a producer through his Plan B entertainment behind camera, is unconfirmed. David Fincher is currently working with Pitt on The Adventures of Cliff Booth, their 5th collaboration, which means the professional relationship that was supposed to produce World War Z 2 in 2019 is still active in 2026. No director confirmed, no writer confirmed, no release date, no plot. The case is open. The file is on the detective's desk. And somewhere between David Ellison's priority list and Brad Pitt's crowded schedule and the 30 million people who played the video game, the sequel that was buried in 2019 is climbing back out of the ground. Some things, the investigation concludes, refuse to stay dead. And the highest-grossing zombie film in cinema history may be the most fitting example.